At this point in time, my expectation is that it's going to be very, very minor changes. Other than if something were to happen and there'd have to be a major change, but that would be directed by the government in some form or another, I'm sure. Okay, so we are obviously recording as well. If there's any issues or concerns, please let us know in the chat, but that is something we need to do. I think it's still on the slide every time. Pop that down. All right. Okay, so key forms in Black Pug. Again, we have a summer dietary form from Candle. Candle is going to be our contract company. I'll talk about them in just a moment. But what you need to know right now is we developed the form in concert with them, so that ties in with their operations. Candle's again a contractor. They do a lot of work with camps, and again we'll talk more details in a moment. 2023 key scheduling dates and information is out. The current merit badge schedule, leaders guide. I'm in the process of a final update. That update should be out by the end of the week.
You're muted.
Policy and then an HMSR map. Update with program areas is pending. So many of you over the previous few years have asked for an update where on the back of the map, it will list the merit badges by program area on the front. So we're working to develop that. That's a lot easier for you, your scouts that carry around the map on the back. It says, hey, at STEM building, these are the merit badges at STEM building. That's a challenge, especially for those who come from outside of council. Coming here, it can be obviously a little bit confusing first time. All right, next slide. All right, so didn't put the attachments links in there. However, 3 weeks prior to camp, I want to let you know you're going to receive an email communication from us, and that will detail a couple of things. It'll talk about the check-in process, anything that's changed in the meantime, and I'm going to go over the rest of this here in a moment. Have the B.S.A. pre-event medical screening is in there, dietary form. Again, remember to do that. We want to make sure that's getting to us, and then reminders and other pertinent information. And our check-in, as always, will be at the Welcome Center. So everybody probably to the Welcome Center on the way in. When you get here on day one, please follow the instructions from the staff in the parking lot. Right, we try to keep things moving as quickly as we possibly can. That can be a challenge. You will receive a time for you to come check in. Don't have those lined up yet, but the reason that we do that is so that we can move troops through and move them through quickly, get you into camp. We will do an expedited for those of you who have done an expedited check-in in the past. That's been very popular. You come up on a Wednesday evening, and I'll talk about that, I think, on the next slide. Okay. You still need to go through the health screening line on the day of. However, that should be the easiest thing to do. And really, for most people, that health screening line, those who've been through the expedited process, is just to update medical forms that were not turned in during the expedited. We all know as leaders, one of the biggest challenges we have is getting everybody's medical form in before we go to camp. Okay, so Sunday usually is one of those where you finally get the last forms on Sunday morning from parents that say, oh, hey, here's my medical form. So that's one of the places you will stop to check in for, okay? I also want to let you know, for those of you who are coming from out of council, we do allow you to do your swim test off-site. That has to be certified by somebody off-site, usually a lifeguard or somebody qualified. Swimming and water rescue is a qualifier for that through B.S.A. So that you do that off-site, you can bring that with you, you hand that to us, and then you don't have to go through the process down at the pool. There's many troops that also come here and they like to get their annual swim check done here. That's fine as well. We'll work with you on either score. We do like it if you let us know ahead of time which one you want. That way, that will help us plan for your arrival. So those that are going to need swim checks, try to get those in a little earlier because it allows me to get them through the process. If I have a big troop come through at the end, that then creates a bottleneck and get you to the leaders meeting at 5 o'clock. That is the next point on there, 5 o'clock leaders meeting. That's going to be at the B.S.A. headquarters building, which is just up the road here. And just across from Pathfinder will be the SPL meeting. Merit badge reconciliations here, 7 p.m. outside after dinner. You'll be able to do those. Look at merit badges that scouts may want to change last minute if there's availability during that week. We are looking to expand availability in some of the weeks, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But you must meet with either myself, the assistant camp director, or I also plan on having our commissioner who's there in the back right now. You can raise his hand. That's our camp commissioner, and our program director will all be available to sit down with you that evening to work through those merit badge changes. Make sure they all have full access to that system. That'll make it go very, very quickly. Usually there's only a handful of them. All right, program orientations will be at 7:20 p.m. outside the dining hall. And then religious services at 8 p.m. We do meet outside here. It's a formation. Again, we're going back to the evening formations every evening in the field uniform. So we'll meet out here at 7:45. We will march from here down to the chapel. We'll have our chapel service. And after our chapel service, we'll move into the opening campfire. And then opening campfire in around 8:30 or so is usually what we'll be kicking off. That will finish up around 9:30. And yes, we will make sure that your scouts have the opportunity to go grab a slushie in the training post immediately afterwards, especially if it's about night. Okay, next slide. Okay, vehicle policy. This is a big one, especially for those who are coming from out of council. Please, when you arrive here, make sure you have your current driver's license, registration, and your insurance card handy. We have to make copies of those. If you would like to make copies of those beforehand and bring a sheet of paper with those things on it for us, that's fantastic. That will make the process that much smoother. We'll collect that up from you and we'll put that into the packet. That has to go with every vehicle that's going to be on camp. So again, if you make copies of that for us, that's fine. I'm just going to look at it and verify it. And you can stick it back in your wallet and gone. It's pretty easy. As long as I'm going to just verify the driver's license and the vehicle information. Yes, sir.
Is that for people that are driving from here and go back out?
No, if they're driving in, yes. If they have to drive into camp at all, I want their insurance information. Okay. If they're staying in the parking lot, I don't need that. Just if they're going to be driving into camp. So license, registration, and insurance for any vehicle and/or driver driving into camp.
Hey, Rich.
Okay, and we do give you vehicle tags, whether that's a temporary one for the day or if that's one that you're going to have throughout the week. You will be allowed to have one vehicle in camp throughout the week. All right, so I want to key in on this, a safety policy update. As of 1 September, the B.S.A. will institute a policy in full that you must have your clearances and you must be a registered leader to do any overnight activities. There's no more 72-hour rule. That's all gone away. We are implementing that policy here in this council as of 1 June, right? That's in discussions with myself, Scout executive, our field director, and the rest of the team. We decided it was best to do that. So what does that mean for us? What that means is that you need to have all your required background checks from whatever state that you're coming from. From here, obviously, you need to have your Child and Youth Services, your PSP, and your FBI affidavit and/or fingerprint background check. And you also have to have your YPT up to date. One of the great challenges we have every single year is leaders that come to camp and don't have that information handy. So please make sure you have all of that in one spot that you can show us as you check in, whether it's the expedited check-in or the check-in on Sunday. Hey, here's all of my documentation. Now, I know there's a registered leader here in council. If you're from in council, please bring that too. I mean, it's not required necessarily. I can still look it up inside. I cannot look at anybody outside of council. Our systems do not interoperate. Yes, sir, go ahead. Yeah, your scout book roster should have that, correct, Matt? No, as long as your scout book roster shows that they are registered in the system, then yes, I can take them, okay? That will show me whether or not. If you show up and you do not have somebody in your scout book roster, then you're going to need to have all that information handy, okay? Printed scout book rosters is the best way to go because it'll tell me whether or not you actually are registered in the program. Okay, so outside of drop off in the parking lot, that does not mean we won't allow, obviously, a lot of troops coming from outside the area or even those inside our council. Have parents help out with transportation, dropping the scouts off, that's fine, but they don't get to enter into camp. These are new security protocols and procedures, so we're trying to really limit that. The only exception to that rule is after 4 p.m. on Friday afternoon. We are allowing parents, other adults with relations to scouts in camp to come in for the barbecue dinner and for the closing campfire, okay? So that's the only change to that rule. Or the only exceptions. Okay, next slide. All right, new at camp. Just want to briefly, again, my camp commissioner, really excited to have Jacob on board. He's absolutely fantastic. He's going off to camp school here very, very shortly. And I'm sure he's going to bring back a lot of other great ideas. But Jacob, you want to talk about any ideas that you may already want to share?
Yes, sure.
Yep, come on up here.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jacob Ford. I am the Activities Director and Camp Commissioner this summer. One of our main goals this summer to make camp a more enjoyable and fun experience for all the scouts that come through is to have a ton of extra activities and events and games going on throughout the week that your scouts can participate in. Coming into camp, and this is something that our staff knows, that you guys should know, and that all the scouts and SPLs will be told, is that we want to keep people out of their campsite during the day and keep them out doing stuff, having fun, making the most of their time here at camp. So as you can see on the screen here, you can see a couple things that are getting added. We're adding a volleyball court down here. That's going to be available for scouts to use. Our stage is getting updated. That's going to improve our campfires in opening campfire, and then that's also going to improve your skits that you do for our closing campfire when your scouts and patrols come together and do that. Oh yes, one thing, we got a sublimation press here in our trading post. It is a heat press that you can take a t-shirt on and print a custom design onto. That's one thing that we're really excited about. We're going to encourage scouts to come down to the trading post and make custom t-shirts with camp logos or different program area logos or things like that. Yes. I think
So that was something we have to do. We can talk about that after camp. That won't be something. So when you come to camp, it won't be right. So that won't be a strict one for your troop per se. We haven't figured out the numbers portion of that yet. So like the troop number, that's what I'm saying. If we are able to do that, that may become a possibility. But right now, I'd say probably.
Yeah, right now we're going to have designs, but it's another thing that your scouts. Yeah, it's another thing your scouts can be able to do. One other thing that is changing is the camp-wide games. We're developing it so the camp-wide games will be going the entire week. So your patrols will be receiving points for activities they participate in, their merit badges they participate in, competitions that they win, attending polar bear, things like that. They'll be receiving points throughout the entire week. And then at the closing campfire, we will reward the honor patrol with whichever patrol did the best throughout the week. So the last thing that is really coming is pop-up activities and merit badges. Last summer, if you were here, we had a couple pop-up merit badges happening, and we had great feedback from the scouts that participated in those. So we're really pushing to have pop-up activities and merit badges. So there will be TVs around the camp that have a schedule, and if your scouts check those, there might be a pop-up activity on the TV says 3 a.m. or 3 p.m.
So 3 a.m. we're in trouble.
3 p.m. this afternoon, we're having law and traffic safety pop-up merit badge at Willett's Dining Hall. Bring a blue card, and your scouts can come and attend these extra merit badges. So if a scout is motivated, they can walk away with a lot more merit badges than they just signed up for. And that goes the same for extra activities, a volleyball competition or a orienteering course, or something like that. So once again, I'm going to end just by saying our goal is to keep your scouts busy throughout the entire week. Of course, people need downtime and rest, but when they're not sleeping in their tents, we want them out having fun, enjoying their time here at Hawk Mountain Scout Reservation and here in the outdoors. So we'll have time for Q&A later. So if you have any more questions about the activities, you can talk to me then. But Rich.
Awesome. Thanks, sir. All right. So, hey, I just want to make a little bit more of an update on the TV. So as part of my background in the service, one thing we use TVs to develop what they call they call it a battle update brief. Obviously, we're not in battle here. The scout update brief is what we're going to call it, the sub. And what we want to do is we want the ability to show things that are happening in and around camp. So the intent is we're going to have TVs here in the dining hall. I mean, a couple of big 50-inch screen TV, 50-inch TVs, flat screens up on the wall here. There's going to be a couple that are going to be down in B.S.A. headquarters, and then there'll be one that's going to be in the Welcome Center. John Conlon, many of you may know John. He was our previous ODS director. He now does secret squirrel stuff, as I like to say, down in Washington, D.C. with all kinds of computer systems. He's going to be coming up, and he's going to help us install the system that will allow us to basically project that throughout camp. So you'll see like a rolling PowerPoint briefing will go on all day long. We can add pictures into that throughout the day of scouts and the things that they're doing. We have a team that'll be going around looking for pictures and things that the scouts are doing that are really great. I think that'll be a nice addition to our camp this summer. I really appreciate Jim putting that into our budget. Okay, next slide. Oh, and major training post updates. Just want to let you know a lot of changes coming. We're actually closing down the training post for a short period of time, other than maybe a couple of weekends. We're working through those details now. And what that'll mean is we're going to make some big changes there and have a lot more items on hand for you. So we're working through that as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, I want to just talk about the new leadership. A lot of senior leaders coming on board. I'm really excited about that as well. So obviously you've been introduced to our camp commissioner. That's Jacob Thorpe. One person I didn't get on here as a change of position is Madison. Madison Francis is going to be our business manager this year. So he's taking on a new role. We have the CIP program with Andrew Spiker. Yes, Andrew's a returning camp staff member, but he's moving from the Pathfinder program there. Outdoor skills is going to be Cooper Dunn. Many of you remember Cooper was our OA summer chieftain. And so he's now coming back in a different role. I'm really excited to have him. Pathfinder, Scotia Foos. I think she's going to be a really outstanding addition. Shooting sports is Ryan Degler. Many of you know last year, Ryan was our ODS director. We moved him over to shooting sports this year, and I think that's going to be a great fit for him. He is currently, I believe he's still currently in the Marine Corps Reserve, and I know that he works with firearm systems, and that would be absolutely a perfect match for him as well. Ecology and STEM is Sean Howard. Sean worked in the kitchen last year, but Sean has a degree in astrobiological physics or something that's well beyond my understanding. And so Sean is going to be our ecology and STEM director. I'm really excited to have him. This is something he's wanted to do. So a great fit. Program director, Elizabeth actually kind of had two roles last year. She did support as a program director Scouts B.S.A, but she also focused her efforts on the Cub side of camp. She's going to solely focus program director opportunities here on this side. And then our assistant camp director, Darren Coleman. So I think that's going to be some big changes coming around. All right, next slide. Okay. Well, yes, we do have Copenhagen. Well, aquatics is not, she's still the aquatics director. She kind of wasn't. Yeah, I apologize if I forget anybody. So we do have Chris Kirshner is coming back as the aquatics director. In fact, she was really supporting the aquatics director last year. It was really a dual-hatted role. It's going to be just herself. And then we do have Trent Garland, who's going to be in a Copenhagen climbing. So yeah, I do forget these as well. Sometimes when you're doing these things, you make those mistakes. So I apologize. Okay. So we're oversights, I should say. So here's Monday through Thursday. There's a couple of changes that are in here, and I really want to make that on just to make sure everybody understands very, very clearly. Polar Bear swims in the same merit badges, 9 to 12. You'll also notice 2 to 5 p.m. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. Instructional swim will be from 1 to 2. Mile swim will be from 1:30 to 2:30. And then open swim will be 3:30 to 5 in the afternoon. So that changes the open swim times. It won't be immediately after lunch. So that means we're actually shrinking the siesta time. The idea is keep scouts active and keep them out of campsites, all right? That may work great for some scoutmasters, may not work great for others, and they may want to work the schedule, but what we wanted to do is offer more merit badges throughout the day. So there's the potential for a scout to earn up to 6 merit badges throughout the day. All right, so six 1-hour sessions or 4 1.5-hour sessions. So there's more merit badges on the plate. And then open program really hasn't changed at all. Next slide. Again, this hasn't really changed. The only thing I will say about the merit badge makeup on Friday, that is really geared towards those 1.5-hour long merit badges. The intent for the others is that they are completed by Thursday evening. Okay, so we can get blue cards back in. I'm going to talk to you about blue cards in a moment here. Then we'll have a camp-wide games roundup, the all-camp roundup. That's basically to encapsulate anything we haven't captured during the week. So there'll still be activities in the afternoon. For those of you who understand the NCAP, the National Camp Assessment Program, one of the things that we have to do is have 3 types of activities. One, we have to have troop activities. Those are things such as the opening and closing campfires. Your religious services are usually troop type activities. Second thing that we have is individual activities. Those are merit badges. Open program can be individual activities as well. And the third thing that we're supposed to have in camp is troll type activities, and that is what your camp-wide games is geared towards. So as Jacob has told you, we are looking to find ways to spread that out throughout the week to make it more exciting, and as well to keep your scouts occupied, but also we'll wrap that up on Friday afternoon as we have traditionally done. And then our closing campfire at 8 o'clock. Slide. All right, dining hall. This is very, very important. New contract, Candle. I'm very excited to have Candle come on board. They come as a highly recommended vendor. Actually, I have to say thanks to Darren Coleman when he went down to camp school in Florida. Yes, took a break in February and went down to get a nice suntan. So make sure you, when you see him, you compliment his suntan. But I will tell you that is been a fantastic relationship right from the start. They have come in and they've essentially let us know that, hey, we've got this handled. They've been doing it for a long time, and we're really excited to have them. Get great meal options. There are some minor changes, but we've talked them through some of the things that are traditions for us. So one of the changes we couldn't really figure out was the Sunday evening meal. We're going to have pork chop rather than a turkey/roast beef type dinner, but it's still going to be great. Now, one thing I want to talk about is our meal plan, and I should have that menu, by the way, published on Black Tug this week. Right, we need to get that from them to upload. I want an electronic copy from them rather than me taking a photograph to upload it. So once I get that electronic copy, and we'll make that upload for you. Breakfast is going to be heater stack. I think that's been very, very popular over the last few years, in that you guys are going to come in just as we've always done. You're getting assigned time. It's pretty free flowing and very fast. Come in right here on the outside of the dining hall. You'll pick up your breakfast meal, take it back to your campsite, have breakfast in the campsite, bring everything back. Candle, by the way, handles all the dishes for us. We as staff will do the serving. Okay. So if there's one area where adults, you could look for volunteer service hours, would be helping us serve meals, particularly at lunch and obviously at dinner time as well. Lunch is going to be jamboree style. For those of you who don't understand the concept of jamboree style, they need grab and go lunch, right? They're going to grab something, they're going to go. Jamboree stuff can sometimes imply that it's handed out in the morning. For us, it's going to be handed out at lunchtime. And then dinner, dining hall or heater stack. There's a small charge for heater stack for those of you who want to do that, but we have worked with Candle to make that happen. So that will work. It's a $50 for the week, so it's not substantial. I think that's pretty manageable for everybody. And that's just really to absorb some of our costs there for us. Now, the one thing that doesn't come with the heater stack, and I'm really excited to announce this, Candle has some really cool bars, if you will, in the evening meal. There's a mac and cheese bar one night. There's a potato bar one night. Salad bar will come there in a minute. And yes, the heater stacks will get the salad bar and all of those. They couldn't figure out a way to package those other ones because they're hot ones, and they couldn't figure out a way to do that to get them out to the campsites. But there will be specialty bars every evening for scouts and leaders to come to. Okay. Yeah, you'll do the pickup just as you would normally. That's why I want to keep the cost low, which is more of a management cost. Yeah. Okay. Pathfinder program. Now, again, this has not really changed since previously. Still earning Indian lore and nature merit badges. Full day program. Had the opportunities to work on those different rank advancements. So this is great for your new scouts. They come on board. Some scouts, some leaders use this really, really well. Others say, hey, this isn't really works for me, and they put their scouts right in the merit badges. That's fine. I'll talk about merit badges in a minute, and we just need to make sure that we're not putting scouts into merit badges that are beyond their accomplishment level. And then anybody who's been in the program, the Pathfinder program, will be recognized by the Pathfinder staff at closing campfire. All right, really important. Those new scouts love that recognition first year. It's what gets them to come back. That's our goal, is to make sure those first year scouts in particular are coming back to us. Okay, next slide. All right, so merit badge program. We are on a 3-year rotation. So we're actually in year number 2 of a 3-year rotation. The reason that we do a rotation, this is a recommendation again of the NCAP. It's actually a requirement of the NCAP to do a merit badge rotation. And what that is make sure that we have fresh offerings every single year. That means a scout can come here for 3 years, and there's really an opportunity for them to never really run into a situation where they have taken everything. Even with 5 or 6 merit badges on their plate, there should be more than enough opportunity. Some merit badges are more physically intensive than others. So as an example, shotgun climbing you'll see we placed age requirements on them. That doesn't mean that we won't take a 12 or 13-year-old scout, all right, that as referred to as base plate, some big kid, works the farm with mom and dad. They can handle a shotgun. Most can't until they're around the age of 14. That's why we put that requirement on there. The same thing with the climbing. They need to be able to belay as well as to climb. So the smaller scouts very often have challenges with those. Again, we'll take a look, and if we feel that the scout can accomplish that, we want them to be successful too. So if they're in a situation where we feel that they can't, we'll let you, and we as leaders will make that decision together. All right, prerequisites must be completed prior to camp and turned into merit badge council on the first day. So what does that mean? We recommend the workbooks. They're great. They're a great way for the scout to kind of track everything. You can throw it into the workbook. They bring it with them. The merit badge counselor signs off on that in the first day, or you can send them with the blue card or a letter that says, hey, they've completed these tasks, right? We're relying on you to do that for us and to make sure it's honest. Now, there's something I owe you in return, and we'll get to that in just a moment. Next slide. Those are the worksheets. You can find them at usscouts.org. I will tell you that they are usually very good about updating, but please make sure cross-check merit badges between the national website and also with what they have on usscouts.org. Again, they're usually very good. They can print out as PDF or Word documents on usscouts.org. So they do keep track of the new changes, and they put in space for those, and they build these PDF documents. Scouts can fill everything in. We're going to hold scouts and staff accountable. No pencil completions. All right. If your scout does not have a prerequisite done, they're not going to get credit. Okay. We need to hold our scouts to a high standard and ourselves as staff to a high standard on merit badges. That's really, really important. So if your scout comes to camp and they know it, we're going to hold our staff accountable. Now, I will also say with this, Darren and I had a great conversation today. We talked about responsibility and leadership and what we do here. This is about leadership development. Remember, most of these staff members are between the ages of around 14 to somewhere around 18 years of age. They're still experiencing life. Heck, even in my 50s, I'm still learning new things, as we all are, right? So think about their experiences. This is a constant fire hose they're drinking from. I would ask, if you see a challenge or a problem, very respectfully, let them know what the challenge and problem is, and then say, hey, can we work this out? Okay, so if you have a scout that comes back and they've completed a merit badge and you know they didn't do the prerequisites, let us know, right? Now, the other thing that goes with that is that we are going to do everything we can to use the electronic system this year. Now, if you still like the old blue cards, that's fine. We'll take them, we'll fill them out, we'll give them back to you. Our intent is, with some of the technology that we're trying to build into camp this summer, is that we are able to actually load everything into the system, and you can download essentially it's an Excel file, and it'll go into Scout Book, it goes into Troop Masters, different ones, and then you just upload it to the system and it's all approved, right? So that's the way we want to do business. Makes it a lot easier for you, makes it a lot easier for us. Now, I ask you to bear with us on that. As we approach the first week of camp, we're going to be testing that system. That'll be actually run by our office manager, probably later in the afternoons. The other advantage to this, as we work out the kinks, will be that you will be able to see the progress of your scouts and merit badges. You also should be able to see in there after that first day whether or not prerequisites have been input or whether or not they've been left out as they should have been if the scout didn't complete them, right? So that's going to be a great check and balance on us. So with that, one of the challenges around camp is gaining access to the internet. We are looking to have hotspots available to rent here in camp that you can take with you. Right? Haven't worked out all the details on that yet. We know that we've tried for many, many years to get a tower put on top of the mountain up here. That's just not going to happen. It doesn't work within the business paradigm. I understand that. They're looking at the cost effectiveness of doing that. We couldn't make it happen. So a solution to that is to do some personal hotspots, or we'll call them business hotspots, if you will. You'll be able to rent those, take them out to your campsite, go wherever you want to, and camp is going to work best for you. In the Scouts headquarters, yes, there will still be internet there. There'll still be internet availability out by the Welcome Center. And oh, by the way, the Leaders Lounge, we're going to give you guys your own private space. I'm still working on the details, but I think Randy Rowe is going to be the spot. Right, so we'll have a cure rig out there for you. I may, if I have the funding, I may throw another TV out there that we can take a shot to and do the update brief out there as well. I haven't gotten that far yet because that could be a little bit technologically beyond me. But again, those are things that we're looking at on down the line to add in if we don't get the opportunity to add it in this year. There's a refrigerator out there. It's going to be air conditioned and it's move away from scouts.
So like when you said when they're back, that means you're losing by that, but the sale rate, and sort of our scout, all the things that we got.
I don't know how the translation would work from Scout Book into Black Pug. Are you talking more Black Pug?
If we were- on the mirror bags, constant, I was- it's the way it's not mirror bags, it's scout houses, they get it.
It would almost have to go into Black Pug, I think, Jenny, and I'm not sure that there's a way for us to do that individually at this point in time, but it's a question I can ask Black Pug. They're exceptionally good at getting back to us with questions that arise. So went through that with Darren and of course we building camp, that's always been a challenge with any electronic system, but Black Pug's great. So if you would just take a quick note on that while offer the merit badge counselor to check it. And I understand what you're, yeah, that's fine. What I'm talking about when I say pencil completions, what has come up in the past, and a lot of times scouts arrive here, they don't have prerequisites done, but they arrive at the merit badge and the merit badge counselor says, oh yeah, it's all done. That's a pencil completion, a pencil whip completion, if you want to call it that. That's not something that's appropriate for scout camp or any other environment. So we're trying to work that out. Yes. So it's in Black Pug, but at the end of camp, you can actually check Black Pug throughout the week through your access. You can see their progress throughout the week in the merit badge. And the other thing is at the end of the week, there's an Excel file that you can download that it goes into Troop Master, Black Pug, and I think there's one other system. There's like 3 systems that it connects with. And it gives you the option on which one to download. So that at the end of that, you take it, you download it, and you re-upload it into, again, Scout Book, Troop Master, the other one, and it'll actually process all of your merit badges like that. So it'll tell you which ones are partials, it'll tell you which ones are completion. So it's really great. And we talk about pop-up merit badges throughout the week. Most of those are probably going to occur over that siesta hour that we do have, between about 1 and 2. What we realize is Friday mornings, way too hectic for the camp director to be running out and teaching traffic safety and or law merit badge. So probably fit those in, looking at Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There could be some that come up Friday mornings. We have reached out to our executive board to ask them if there's anybody interested in coming up and teaching a merit badge that they would have and what day that would work for them. So we want to fit it in, and there could be some in the evenings as well during the open program time. So there'll be opportunities then for scouts. I think those are great opportunities for them. Again, keeping them busy throughout the week. Next slide. All right, we've already talked about this. Again, we recommend just some things. Some merit badges have extra costs. Bring in a pen, binder, pencil, and paper, and go to your program, your merit badge. There are some that have the 90-minute block. Most of those are either aquatics related or the shooting sports merit badges. There's a couple of others that we realize that take a little longer. One thing we have made a change over the last few years with this is that we are not teaching. If it's a merit badge that can be done in 2 hours or less, it has been pulled out of our rotation. Those are ones that are becoming pop-up merit badges. Chess, great example of that. Elections, another great example of that. So when we test merit badges and we find that it's less than 4 hours, really, we're going to pull it out of the rotation. That becomes a pop-up sometime throughout. This makes good sense to us. And then partial completions is okay if a scout does not complete a merit badge. Truly, truly is. Now, I did mention earlier, I don't want to set scouts up for failure. So we have a first-year scout that's never jumped in a pool. Please, let's not sign them up for swimming merit badge. And I'm not saying that leaders do that. There's a handful of leaders out there say, well, sink or swim, right? Get them in the pool and they're going to get swimming merit badge. That can be really challenging for that scout at the end of the week when they don't come anywhere close to earning the merit badge. If we think they can get close, then yes, we push them to earn the merit badge, push them to take those steps. But again, please make sure that they have an opportunity or a chance to earn that at the end of the week. All right, so our COPE program, really the big program for our older scouts, we're relooking that and what we do with our older scouts. COPE has been over the last, say, 10 years has changed pretty significantly. It's not as impactful as it once was. So we're looking at ways that we can make some changes to the program. They're going to allow us to do more things. Again, bear with us as we go through that. Right now, COPE is still open and operational. And I believe there's a $30 fee on that for the week. And that will be run by our COPE and climbing program in the afternoon. Excellent. All right, big thing. We have a provisional camp program. For Scout coming for the second week, this is the biggest piece. Scout coming for a second week of camp. I don't care where they've been. I don't care if they've been to camp out in the Midwest. I don't care if they've been to camp somewhere in the South. We're camp here. If they come back for a second week, they get that second week for $295. Jamboree does not count. Jamboree does not count. That's a separate, that's not camp, okay? The idea is to get Scouts to come back for a second week. That might be very popular with some parents. And by the way, that was one thing that I think was on an earlier slide. We do have a parents guide coming out. That might be particularly effective for your new parents. So when that goes up online, we'll push out an email, let you know that it's up and you can take a look at it. It's Nationals program. We've made some revisions for us and we're going to put that out to all of you. We're recommending weeks 1 and 3 just based on merit badge opportunities. Those are our 2 lightest weeks. So those are the best opportunities to do that. We will have leadership for them. So we'll have Scoutmaster or Scoutmasters. And if we have, obviously girls will have a female leader on hand to help us run that program. Looking for volunteers, by the way. So anybody might be up for a second week camp, that would be great. But we have to bring you in as part of our staff. So there's some things that need to be done. All right, next slide. CIT program. This is going to be a couple of slides again. Leadership internship program, 3-week program. You can do weeks 1 to 3, 2 through 4, or 3 through 5. Okay. So potential hire for after completion. First 2 weeks will be focused on leadership workshops, and they get to take 2 merit badges. Slide. Second week, earning 2 additional merit badges that they're going to teach. They're going to be a part of that teaching process. They're not going to teach all of it. But they're going to teach probably 1 or 2 pieces of a session, right? That's getting them into that skill set. Third week, Scouts are going to earn 2 final merit badges and a special 7th merit badge, and they'll be focused on much more of the teaching. So they might teach half of a class. So for example, let's say they're teaching orienteering, they might teach up to half of orienteering during the course of the week, half of another one. The 7th merit badge, as of right now, that 7th merit badge is going to be taught at Blue Marsh, and it will be motorboating. Right, so that's the essence of the program. And the cost of Scouts must be 13, first class rank, and not their first year at camp. If they complete the program, there's no guarantees. We have the option to hire them on board. That costs $150 for the entire 3 weeks. That is not per week. It's $150 for all 3 weeks. The idea is to help them develop as staff members. All right, slide. All right, so this is an adopt a site program. Many of you may not be aware of this. If you can adopt a site here in camp, any one of the campsites, site of your choice. You get to put up tents, clean up, 8 hours of work, and if you do those things, that's just a general list of things to be done. There could be other things that we ask you to do with that. But if you put in those 8 hours of work, we will give you 2 free weekends for that next year here at Hawk Mountain Scout Reservation. In a tent site, obviously. Okay, but you can come up for 2 free weekends throughout that next year. So what we're looking to do is obviously one of the great challenges, as we all know, we're a little bit smaller than we've been in the past. We're regrowing, which is great, but there's not a lot of hands as there once was, not as many hands as there once were. So one of the things we're looking to do is that helps us actually bring folks into camp, helps us complete a lot of projects, and it allows us as the professional team and the semi-professional teams that are up here doing things, as my good friend Jared here in the back, putting things such as new water lines throughout camp, right? He can focus his professional efforts. That's what he does. So rather than focusing on campsites, I can put Jared to work focusing on those things that I'm going to have an impact from. And then specialty training will be available. Oh, let me take a step back. Go back and just make sure I didn't miss anything on that previous slide. All right, that's pretty much it. So again, if you're interested in that, reach out to myself or Darren Coleman, and we go from there. Yes, ma'am. Well, it can happen on away weekends, but it can also happen throughout all of May. Yeah, so you were just saying your schedule for the 7th. So they're paying for the weekend to come up, and then what they're gonna do is get the 2 weekends. They'll do the work and do the 2 weekends. Okay. All right, slide. All right, so my commissioner back there will lead a team. All right, again, as always, we need additional adult leaders. Our experience says to us that it should be usually older leaders doing that, not necessarily young leaders, although I have a great young commissioner. He's very mature, and I think he's doing a fantastic job with that. When you have young leaders that just made the transition, that's not always the best fit. We look for somebody who's probably got 4 or 5 years of salt under their belt and can do that. They will actually work with Jacob to go out and do those campsite inspections, and then they bring the results back to you. They get posted on a board in your campsite. They're brought back to Jacob, and then that's an opportunity for Jacob to go out and talk to troops. One of the things I think is great about Jacob's a great transitional man, or transactional, I guess you might say it's transitional work, not transactional. But the idea is that he can bridge that gap between us as the adult leaders, if you will, although he's also an adult leader. He's a young adult leader, but he can also talk to the scouts. Okay, so I feel that it's the right mix to have him as our commissioner this summer. I'm really looking forward to it. Most of you have been through this before. Uniformity in the campsites means no loss of points. If all the tent flaps are open, that's good. If they're all closed, that's fine too. And it's part of the honor troop program. And we are looking at some leader training, specialty training. We're trying to figure out how we manage potentially, say, for example, IOLS through our Pathfinder program. We're still in the developmental stages of that. And again, if we were able to make that happen, we'll let you know. And I think that'd be a great thing if we can. All right, next slide. Oh, and we should be having, I need to talk to Price, but I do believe we are going to have, as we've had in the past, we will have the first aid CPR training in the evenings. I can't tell you which evenings those will be yet, only because I need to get the schedule set. And I think that might actually flex from week to week based on individuals and their availability. All right, so thanks for the Order of the Arrow. Canatini Award, many of you already know what that is. That's a week-long program. Essentially, it encourages the scouts and leaders, both new scouts, new leaders, old scouts, old leaders, to get involved in doing things around our camp. There's a number of different segments to it. The green neckerchief is pretty identifiable. I didn't bring one down with me this evening, but it's a light green neckerchief, and we have stamps that are up in the B.S.A. headquarters that you can then take out and you stamp the neckerchief with these different things. And the idea is that they're just showing those activities. They are available, Dave. I think there's $6 was the last price. Oh, there's actually somebody, Mike's got one there in the back. Matter of fact, Mike, you can borrow that for a second. Oh, you need to stamp something. He's coming up here to stamp some. So in any case, there's a great program, again, to keep scouts engaged in camp. And again, you can get those when you do the check-in, and you can also get those training posts prior to the opening campfire. The ceremony is right after opening campfire. I need to emphasize that. A lot of leaders come into camp, they don't realize that it's right after, and the green neckerchiefs are part of that ceremony. So if you're going to attend, the recommendation is you have those green neckerchiefs for your new scouts well in advance. Get them as you check in, and then right after opening campfire, those who are new scouts to camp, and it can be any scout that's new to camp. So if you're a troop that's coming here for the first time, you can participate as part of this program, the entire troop, leaders and youth as well. If you, yes.
Also adding a new addition to that, individuals
Aha.
side of the 15 membership. So with that, we are civilizing the feed system with rules that pending on the feed. Those that troops don't visit the 15 membership, that scout just wants to do project.
Awesome.
And these will be, for those of you that don't know, our lodge has a system where a little dangle that forms like different beads from different events, just to kind of show off how much you've attended, what certain events you did, which this will be added to this.
Awesome. Yes, ma'am.
Is this strictly your council working out of council?
Out of council troops can participate. We've had many that will come here.
Any person who wants to do individual service.
So even in out of council.
Yes.
Yeah, Yeah, we don't need to do that tonight. We do have a checklist for it, and it basically walks you through what things you have to accomplish. There's service. Yes, yes, ma'am. Honestly, I think one of the great challenges, we sometimes don't know what service projects we'll have until we hit the ground here for staff week. So it may be one of those situations where after staff week, we can develop a list and start checking it off, but and I'm not sure how effective that would be with all the changes that do occur throughout the summer, but it's a great suggestion. If I can think of a way to inculcate that into our program, I certainly will. All right. Yes.
We're out of council, so trying to wrap my head around everything. In the award is not necessarily by the word of the hour.
It's sponsored by the Order of the Hour. So our Order of the Hour, our lodge sponsors this award. And it's a neckerchief. It's then either stamps at the end of the week for each activity that they do. So if they go to polar bear, there's a polar bear stamp. And actually the intent is at the end of the week, you have a sheet. We recommend leaders hold on to the sheets. The scouts tend to lose those quickly. But they hold on to the sheet, and then on that, it'll tell you, hey, the polar bear is embroidered in white. There's one for target for going to rifle or shooting sports, or some people put an arrow if they've gone down to archery. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, Rich, just from feedback from the chat, if anybody from the audience has a question or a comment, if you could restate what they said, the audio
Okay.
from the audience isn't coming through. Clearly.
Got it. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize, folks. We learn things as we go along. So the question was if it, basically a recap of whether or not the Kittatinny Award was part of our lodge. It's sponsored by our lodge, but anybody can participate. Where you are or not, does not matter whether or not they're members of the Order of the Hour. It can be a brand new scout who has no experience whatsoever, has no experience with the Order of the Hour. They can participate in it. So
Same goes with the individual service.
correct.
You don't have to be a lodge member.
Okay.
You'll probably get a dangle on them.
Speaking of, we can do a call out for the ordeal here at our call out ceremony. We cannot do anything else, right? What we need from you, if you are from out of council and you would like to do your call out here at Hawk Mountain Scout Reservation, we need a letter signed by your lodge advisor and your lodge chief that gives us that approval. And that needs to be handed into us when you check in, and then we can incorporate you into our call out ceremony. Okay. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Yep, at the check-in. Okay. OA Day, Tuesday, scouts and leaders are encouraged to wear their sashes with their uniform. Please take out the breakfast. I apologize for that. It should be just a dinner. Don't want to wear it. Look, we all know how we can be as adults with a white sash. Usually they're not very white by the end of the meal, but please do wear your sash on Tuesday with the family style dinner here in the dining hall. That is really, really important. Wearing the field uniform, wearing the sash, representing the Order of the Arrow. It really is a great feeling to see all the airmen that are in here. And we encourage them. What we call the Class B, the program uniform or the activity uniform is not meant to be, the sash is not meant to be worn with that. So just to be clear on that. The only thing that we are really, truly meant to wear outside of the field uniform is the neckerchief. That was a change made by National, probably 6 or 7 years ago. So they encourage the neckerchiefs. You can wear this whenever you want. All right, next slide. All right, so Tuesday night, the OA call-out ceremony. We assemble out in front of the STEM building. That's up here, just as it's actually right in the parking lot. It's the best way to describe it. The STEM building's up on the hill behind the Welcome Center. So we assemble there. They come down into our OA, what we refer to as our OA village. And that is where the call-out ceremony is completed. We highly encourage all troops to come, even if you're not doing a call-out. It's really a fantastic ceremony, and it gets our scouts interested in the Order of the Arrow. We do encourage everyone, leaders, scouts, and leaders can come and observe. Right? We do have an OA Cracker Barrel afterwards. That is for all members of any lodge that's attending scout camp here. So Doesn't matter where you're from, you can attend our OA Cracker Barrel. So the question was, if they have taken their ordeal earlier in the year, so if they've taken in April, May, yes, the encouragement is they should still attend the call out ceremony and still go through the call out. And you hold the sash up. Many of them do not. If they go in April or May, they very often don't do the pre-ordeal, which is a part of it. So that's their opportunity to get the pre-ordeal. Okay. Brotherhood testing on Monday evenings. By the way, we also encourage you, if you are a Brotherhood member or a Vigil Honor member of another lodge, please come down and see the Brotherhood ceremony on Tuesday night. All right. Again, it's great. Oh, excuse me, Monday night. It's a great opportunity for us to meet with other members of other lodges. And for us to get feedback and ideas about how we can improve our ceremonies as well. And then Friday night, we recognize all members of the Order of the Arrow, Vigil, Brotherhood, and our new ordeal members. Okay, or those that have been called in. Awesome. Okay. Next slide. Special contests throughout the week. There's quite a few of those are in the leaders guide. There's going to be some other ones added to it. We have we're going to have leader golf. We're trying to come up with a funny name that's still appropriate, but basically you're going to have to create your own golf club out of natural materials. The only one that gets to use the real golf clubs is going to be your camp director and my very professional caddy, either the assistant camp director or the camp commissioner. I still need to find real golf clubs, so you're probably in luck. All right, and I don't golf, by the way. I play golf like I play rugby, so you can tell it's probably not going to be a very good day for me regardless. All right, so with that, it's going to be like the little plastic golf balls. It'll be a par 72 for 3 holes. I think it's going to be a really great time. It's just something for leaders to do in the afternoon. We're going to have quoits out again. For those of you who are not from Pennsylvania, so how many in here know what quoits are, or quoits? All right, pronounced different ways. So quoits are round discs. They weigh 3 or 4 pounds. They're a lot heavier than your usual horseshoes, which weigh about 1.5 pounds. But the pins, thankfully, are a lot closer. Please, whatever you do, these are not objects to throw at other leaders that you're upset with. Okay. So making sure we keep the quoits in the quoit pits, that would be great. We're looking at building a quoit pit out here, horseshoe pit for you guys again, having some leader activities. I will say this, one of the things that has come up from national when we talk about those activities that are more active, the Gaga ball pit. We are going to be selling Gaga balls. We're not going to be providing them any longer. The reason for that is they usually a day or two into each week we're purchasing new Gaga balls because they're just truly beaten upon. The other thing is adult supervision has to be at the Gaga ball pit at all times. So the idea is that, yes, your troop can go purchase a Gaga ball. An adult leader from your unit should be there if the majority of scouts are from your unit. Doesn't mean that other scouts can't join in. Jacob mentioned things like, hey, maybe there's, he might be wandering past and see a Gaga ball game or whatever they call them going on, and whoever wins the game might get a t-shirt. All right. Those are some other pop-up activities that will be happening throughout camp. Okay. Next slide. All right, and then we highly encourage this. Probably happens in every single camp. Many of our tents are a little older. We have some newer ones that are absolutely fantastic. We highly recommend you bring tarps to the top of your tents. Highly recommend you bring tarps to the top of your tents. 8x10 fits fairly well. You can also go 9x11. That's not too much of an overhang, but really bring those. A lot depends on the site, but it is very, very helpful, and you can really get them fairly inexpensively from, Harbor Freight or other, one of those type places. All right, with that, you have any questions? All right, lots of information. Yes, sir.
All right, couple of questions. Visitors. Our troop has a lot of alumni that traditionally come up during the week. That's not happening.
Unless they're registered leaders. No, so the question was, visitors up to camp, they must be registered leaders outside of after 4 p.m. on Friday. Registered adults, but registered. They're registered. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's good clarification. Any registered adult registered with the B.S.A. They come here during the week, they still need to check in. But you cannot have somebody who's unregistered, okay, other than after 4 PM on Friday.
Can they come and visit with us at the Welcome Center without entering?
So the question was whether or not they can come to the Welcome Center. I'm gonna have to review that with our scout executive. My initial response would be no, until I have clarification from him.
Just so I know how to reach out.
Right, correct.
Blue cards,
Yes.
we can still tell them and send them out without scouts.
So the question was whether or not you can still use blue cards. The answer is yes, you may still use the blue cards if that is your preferred methodology. I'm fine with doing that. It's not going to be an issue. We just need to know. I would ask that you let us know ahead of time. I'll have to figure out a way to do that so that we can track that and know which troops are coming in which weeks. And that gives the merit badge instructor an opportunity to kind of prepare themselves, okay? Because they'll be doing two things at that point. They'll be doing blue cards, plus they'll be doing the online system. I think it probably happened at check-in, but I want to make sure. I just got to check that. What's that for? It's 1 week. It's the Wednesday before your week. So the question was, when can you do the expedited check-in? It is the Wednesday before your week. So if you're coming week number 2, you would show up the Wednesday evening of week number 1 to do your expedited check-in. If you are coming week number 1, the Wednesday night of our second staff week would be the night to check-in.
We don't need to schedule time, what do you do?
No, it's going to be 5 o'clock. Just between. So the question was, what time for expedited check-in? Between 5 and 7 PM. Obviously, don't show up at 7:05, and because I'll send everybody back at that point. So again, the time for that would be between 5 and 7 PM on Wednesday. Yes, ma'am. Question. So the question was whether or not it was 1 leader or multiple leaders coming up for expedited check-in. Most units will bring a leader or 2 to the expedited check-in. A lot of times we have enough folks for the expedited check-in. We'll have 1 person do the medical check-in, and then 1 usually does the administrative check-in. So recommendation is that for those, you bring 2 leaders. 1 can do the medical while 1's doing something else. Right? Yes, ma'am. Second question. Okay, so that's a great question. So the question was about allergies or religious restrictions on meals. When you get the publication of the menu, please look that over. If there is something in there, it is Candle's intent with every possible method to replace like with like. So in other words, if they are unable to eat something in particular, let's say it's French toast and they have an egg allergy as an example, I'm familiar with egg allergies, and they can't have that French toast, they will find a replacement French toast that does not have eggs in it. That's the intent. If they can't have pork, they will replace it with something that they can have. There is one that's on there already from Candle that we've worked with them on to work that through. But I think Candle has done a really good job of making sure it's a like for like replacement, which is great.
Slightly different to this question. We have 1 scout, with their autism, and very self-limiting diet. They're willing to provide all the food for that scout. Is there anybody?
I'm going to have you coordinate with Darren Coleman, who is our assistant camp director. Believe you, well, if you don't, you can contact me on through Blackbug at richard.howard@scouting.org, and I will put you in contact with him. That you can do. So the question was, they have a scout who wants to bring, the parents want to send all the meals along with them. How is that happening? But by the way, to reduce the chances of cross-contamination, we have one of our Candle employees will work up at Miller, which is another dining facility we have here on camp. And that's where the other meals will be prepared so that there's a very low risk, if not practically the non-risk then of cross-contamination. Remind me of something, I'll go back to it. Yes. Okay. So we will have those kits available in the program area. So the question was, where do the scouts pick up their kits if they're in leatherworking or basketry or one of those? They will pick everything up in the program area when they arrive on their first day. Yes, ma'am.
So I think we can do first night like these one.
So the question was, when you turn in blue cards, what we ask you to do is send your scout to their merit badge on Monday with the blue card. That's the easiest way to do that, rather than being dropped off on Sunday night and potentially getting lost between Sunday and Monday, because we know how that happens.
The adopt a site program, the 8 hours of work. I think when the form we interpreted, it's that it reads 8 hours per person.
What I'm saying, it's not 8 hours of just one person doing the work. Yes, it's your troop doing 8 hours worth
The
of work.
culmination of 8 hours.
Correct, yes. So the question was on the adopt a site program, the 8 hours, that's really 8 man hours per person. If you think of it in a different sense, it's not just 8 hours total. Obviously, if you had a large troop of 80 kids, that would go very quickly. So no, it's supposed to be 8 hours work. Medication. Yes. Oh, thank you. That was the question I was going to actually get to. So I appreciate it. What was your question on medications? So outside of medications, okay, so the question was, how do we handle medications? Outside of medications that do not require refrigeration, okay, if the medication requires refrigeration, for example, if you're diabetic and your insulin requires, to be refrigerated, you're going to have to drop that off with our medic, who's Cole Mitchell. He's one of our scouting professionals. You will be able then to go and take care of that with him on a daily basis. If it is something that does not require that, the requirement is having a lockbox and tracking that. Oh, does that make sense to everybody? So outside of those things, we will help you, obviously. We'll do everything. We do not have lockboxes, so we recommend you bring your lockbox with you or find a lockbox that will work for you. Now, with medications, I also know neural challenge, I think is the new terminology. So if you have scouts that have neural challenges, this is not, and I say this, and please leaders help me out with this, this is not the right time for a scout to take a medicine break, okay? I cannot emphasize that enough. Please pass that on to your parents. It's very, very challenging when they come to camp, they don't have their medication, and we now have challenges with that scout's behavior in camp, and we end up having to make a phone call to send them home, which none of us want to do. So please make sure this is not time for a medicine vacation. Yes, sir.
Just to clarify, this is the medication we can advise to with our secretaries.
Correct. Outside of those things that require, again, refrigeration. Right. EpiPen should be held on them. Emergency inhaler should be on them. That's the requirement for them. So with that, speaking of, look, one of the things we try to do, if you have a scout with some of those neural challenges, very, very important you reach out to us ahead of time. While we're not obviously part of, in one sense, their formal program of development, what we're looking for is to help them be successful in program areas. So if you have a scout that has a challenge, let us know. We'll take a look at their merit badge list, and we will make sure that those program area directors, right? We're not going to distribute it. It's going to be very restricted to who gets distributed to. We'll let them know what those challenges are so that they can help that scout be successful in the program area. That's really important. So again, please no medicine vacations, and please let us know ahead of time, especially if it's very, very severe and we need to work with them. That's important so we can help you, them, and that scout be successful.
Are you ready for some questions?
Yes,
Hey,
I can take
Rich.
some questions for online, so please go ahead.
Rich,
First one, new scouts deadline to add to summer camp. When kids who scouts who just crossed over, what's the deadline to add them to their rosters for summer camp?
Really, they can add those anytime, but they're going to have to look at the time frame for late fees. Okay, so that was the question was, when there's a deadline, they'll have to look at that for late fees.
let's find this out.
Correct. Webelos being crossover, but if it's a new scout, that's a different story. So you can bring a new scout in anytime you want. Webelos do not have a late fee signed to them. However, you need to make sure they're identified that way. Okay.
Okay, electric hookups at campsites or at each campsite.
So we do not have electric hookups at each campsite. That's one of the challenges, which it's very, very rustic here. So we have, I think, 3 campsites with electric hookup. We have Tuscarora, Daniel Boone, and David Crockett are the 3 that I believe have
And I know
electric
that's
hookup.
Grand Courts from Randy Road.
Right, and usually Randy Rowe supplies power to TTK, T-Talk Ken, but those are the sites that we have. If you have a requirement, we've already looked at that to see if you have a requirement for, some kind of medical device to see if we can't make all that work. If we haven't been able to figure that out, we will reach out to you to come up with a solution. But again, there's only those 3 sites that really have electric run to them at this time, plus the 4th, which runs electric from the building nearby.
Okay, the next one kind of goes hand in hand with Cub Scouts, so we might have to talk to Michelle about it. Registrations required for all adults. Does it pertain to Cub resident also?
If they're overnight, yes.
Yes, okay.
So the question was, for those of you who couldn't hear it, for those who are coming to Cub resident, yes, the same requirement applies. They need to be registered adults to be here overnight and to be in camp.
Hey, Rich. Sorry, I don't know if they're done.
Yes. All right, next. Does HMSR use the Reminder app to send out notifications? Or the Remind app?
I don't know that we've used Remind app. If somebody has some information on an app that would work with us, we use something similar last year, but it's not the Remind app. So there will be something that we will use to send out notifications to you. We are looking for something with a QR code, by the way, where you can walk up and QR code something and send us a note on the campsite or send us a note, on needs in a program area. So that would be helpful. There'll be one for leaders. I'm going to put one in a leader binder. Please don't share that with every scout in the world. That really is meant for the leaders. So, the QR code and honestly, some troops don't allow their scouts to use electronics. Some do at particular periods, some not at all. Some let them carry them around all day at camp. Not really, that's not for me to comment on. Everybody has their own plan. However, again, there'll be certain things that will be restricted to leaders, and we ask you to keep that way for us. It'd be very confusing when you have 15, 20 requests for the same thing coming from a campsite. We realize that happened are from scouts, and they just keep sitting the same thing over.
Okay, just bear with me a couple more.
All right, no worries.
Option to have breakfast and or lunch in dining.
Breakfast, no. Breakfast will be in the campsites. All right, so that is completely. So the only ones eating in the dining hall for breakfast are your staff, and we're actually helping to serve everything out here. For lunch, we are looking at the option for leaders and or youth to be able to eat in the dining hall. But the one thing I have to work out with all the leaders is to make sure the dining hall is getting cleaned up. I do not have the staff, and it is not Candle's responsibility to clean up the dining hall. So I may start off the week allowing you to do that with the expectation that you will clean up after yourselves. I would ask that leaders be in here with their scouts when they're having lunch, and the expectation would be that they clean up and help us sweep the floor and do all those things. If we're in a day or two and that's not working very well, I can always shut that off.
Recording, is this recording available for later?
So I'm working on making this recording available for later. This will be saved on the local computer. The same for the one that we had last weekend, which was the one about special needs and some other information that we put out. I'm working on packaging that. It's been downloaded, it's been secured, but I need to figure out a way to transfer it because it's a massive file to our IT guy, and then he'll be able to upload it to the website.
Okay. Registered adults include registered and trained committee members.
Correct. Yeah. So the question was, do registered adults registered and trained committee members? Absolutely. Yes, they're registered adults.
Chris, there's another unit position that's available that some of you may have known as a unit scout or reserve. But a unit participant can be registered with your troops and does not require specific training like a scoutmaster, assistant scoutmaster, etc. So the fees are still there. Youth protection still required. The 3 Pennsylvania state checks are required. There's just no specific training required for that person.
Not for that person, but they're still a registered.
Okay, next, is there a theme for camp?
So the question was, is there a theme for camp? No. All right, so with that, but I'm going to share this. So we are very quickly coming up on the 100th anniversary of camping here at Hawk Mountain Scout Reservation. The first troops camped here in 1926. Many of you may know, if you go to the far side of camp, if you've been here before up by Miller, there's a chimney stack. That chimney stack was the original administrative building back in the 1930s, late 1920s, early 1930s, up through about the 1940s. Camping has been all over our council. It was at French Creek State Park at one point. There's been different camps around the area. So with that in mind, what we're looking at is over the next 3 years, we're going to have some special programs related to the 100th anniversary, the upcoming 100th anniversary of camping here on the property. That will be through 23, 24, 25, and then into 2026 will be into the future, if you think of it like Star Trek: The Next Generation, as we move beyond. Okay, so if you'd like to come up with something related to beginning that celebration of coming up on 100 years, that would be the best that I can suggest to you. One thing I will share with you is we're developing a set of patches related to that. I actually have our former council commissioners working on it right now. It's a set of keystones around the center patch. I think it's going to look really, really neat. The one that we're actually working on for this year, the historical piece, is related to Camp Blue Mountain, which was the original name of this property, really from about the 1920s, early 1930s on. Yeah, yeah. Right. Okay. So we're working on that. There'll be some historical patches that are all associated with that. Well, I shouldn't say historical patches, but keystones and some other things. So it really is going to be pretty impactful. So if you want to think about that, think of maybe camping in the 1920s or 30s this year might be a good theme to go with in bringing up that celebration. As we move forward, maybe in the 1950s for next year, the 1970s for the years following, when we first opened what is now known as Hawk Mountain Scout Reservation, which included 2 camps. So if that gives anybody any ideas. So if you want to do gateway competition, I'll tell you what, I'll put that out tonight. We'll make that come up with your best idea from the 1920s or 30s scouting for a gateway. Your best idea for 1920s or 1930s something, design, thought, tie that into a gateway somehow. Pretty challenging, I think. Make it fun.
When will judgment be deliberated?
That'll be for the business manager to judge and deliberate.
Oh,
So Madison, who asked the question, just got stuck with the job.
I'm fine with that. By Wednesday.
Yeah, by Wednesday.
You'll be judged on Wednesday.
No, I'll make it Thursday. Give an extra day. Make it Thursday.
Judgment will be Thursday.
Thursday of every camp. Okay.
Okay, last 2 questions I have currently on the chat. When do we find out our campsite assignments?
Okay, so the question was when we find out campsite assignments, I'll have those to you by the end of this week. My hope would have been to do that today. However, there was a couple that came up as questions as we tried to figure out some of those challenges, and I need to sit down with our program director and work a couple of those pieces out. So those will be to you by the end of the week.
And where can we get these slides?
So these slides will actually be part of the actual reporting. The other thing that we will do is I will try to put out the slides sometime around the end of the week with a couple of corrections that need to be placed in there as well. So, yeah, roughly on the end of it.
Got it. Pathfinder program requires one adult to go down with the youth.
Right, okay, so the question was sending youth to Pathfinder. We do like it if you, especially if you have 5 or more youth attending Pathfinder, but even if you have 1, we highly recommend you send an adult with them to the Pathfinder program. That's even more important when they have neuro challenges, to have a leader there with them and to assist our Pathfinder staff. By the way, speaking of staff, this is the first year in quite a number of years that we've actually had a full staff across all program areas but 1. And right now we are still looking for aquatic staff. In particular, I'm looking for 2 18-year-old plus aquatics directors for the pool and the lakefront, and or somebody, and I'd love to have an additional person over the age of 21, because without a 21-year-old aquatics director on camp, you cannot run aquatics programs. I do have somebody to do that, but I'd like to have an additional individual. So if you are aware of anybody that is looking for summer employment, looking to have a lot of fun working on camp staff, and is over the age of 18 in particular for the aquatic staff, that would be absolutely fantastic. Oh, and to announce this to everybody, we have a total of 21 internationals coming this summer. The Candle staff will have 10 individuals. Majority of them will come from Mexico and or other countries in South America. We then have 9 staff members that will be working here. We spread them throughout our program areas. 2 of those individuals are from Poland, 1 from Scotland, 1 from Germany, and the rest are from England. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then there's 2 that will be going on the road with the Cub Day Camp. So again, great opportunity. We're finally getting back to that. The restrictions have lifted. Really excited to announce that, having those international staff members here with us. So they may actually be in our uniform, or they may get their home country's uniform. We'll try to make sure they get a nice introduction on the Sunday night campfire. And I think it's gonna be really great. Most of them are soccer fans. For those of you, any soccer fans in here? It's terrible. All right, I have a couple. All right, well, those who are soccer fans, that is big in Europe. So we had a great conversation on their first web meeting, and they were excited to know that I was also a soccer fan. Anyways, so other questions, issues, concerns? Yes, sir.
Rich?
For the out of council troops, if you want to see more of what the continuing one, what the program is, we've got Victor Street here on that.
Mike, you bring up a great point. So Mike's offer was to actually show the Kittatinny Award. I will actually ask my staff to take a picture of some examples of the Kittatinny neckerchiefs, both those that have been completed and those that have just the stamps on them, and put that up online for folks to see what it is ahead of time. I think that's not something we've done in the past, but I think maybe it'll help. All right.
Hey, Rich? Rich?
So dishes will actually be done here. So I will check with you on that. I know for the breakfast, we're talking about that this is probably won't, but we'll have to have mess kits. I'll double check that. Let me double check that before I give you a firm answer on how that will work. I'm not sure I have enough dishes. That was one thing that was going up to me. Right. We'll make sure you have the washing supplies if that's what you want.
You
Yes,
mentioned that the special meals will be made at the other dining hall. Will they be brought here for like the breakfast and stuff?
Yes, they will be brought down and
Okay,
then
so
packaged
everybody-
out. Same thing for any other meal. They'll be brought here and they'll be packaged ready to go. Oh, with special meals, ladies and gentlemen, I know this, I mean, these, we can get into a lot of other questions. So with regard to special meals, one thing that's also come up is we very often have parents that say, hey, my scout, they don't want their scout to have a particular type of meal, say, for example, pancakes or French toast or something along those lines. Well, Johnny and or Jill Scout really doesn't have a medical issue. They just, mom and dad don't want them to have those things. So we end up making special meals. And this has happened quite often where we make a special meal and it ends up getting thrown out because the scout doesn't grab it. This gets to be a real challenge for us as being administrators at camp. And it's really, really challenging things like family style meals. So you put out, say 10 meals for a table, 2 of those are supposed to be special meals. So we only manage to put out for that particular table 8 meals or 8 portions for those individuals sitting there. Well, and all of a sudden that's gone and the special meals are sat on the side. So we ask, please, if your scout's supposed to have a special meal, please have them eat the special meal. Talk to the parents ahead of time, let them know that if the scout doesn't absolutely require it, please don't put it down on the form because it just causes all kinds of challenges for us as leadership. And of course, it's a waste of our resources, which are very challenging today. We all know that we're being good stewards of our dollar and we'll be good stewards of yours as well. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
So if it goes off during the night, you see, right, I know they're not supposed to do it. He'll bring it with him.
Right. So the question was, a scout on an insulin pump, whether or not they can have something in the tent with them. I don't see an issue with that. I would coordinate that with our medic when you arrive here as to what they would recommend. Yeah, to talk to Cole and just make sure that's okay. All right, well, folks, hey, I really appreciate everybody online tonight, everybody here in the dining hall. I appreciate everybody coming out. I'll be available for a little while afterwards for anybody who has additional questions. For those of you who have questions that are online questions, please send those, either just right now, put those into the chat. And if you've thought of something that we've been talking about in the meantime, myself or one of my team members will get back to you with an answer to that question. And for those, again, who are here, certainly I can hang around for a few moments and chat about individual questions and or concerns. Again, thank you very much. I appreciate your time tonight, and look forward to seeing everybody here at Hog Mountain Scout Reservation in just a few short months. Next will be weeks. So exciting. Thank you again. Have a great night, folks.
Hey, Rich,
We're gonna put Rich's down to the.
Rich, Rich.